The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky, painting the yard outside Jero's modest cabin with shades of gold and amber. The air was thick with the scent of pine from the forest that stretched beyond the yard, and the soft hum of nature seemed to embrace the space. The yard, though simple, had an enchanting beauty. Wildflowers dotted the edges of the stone path that led from the house, and an ancient oak tree stood proudly at the center, its thick branches casting a cool shadow over the ground. A wooden bench sat beneath the tree, worn smooth by years of use, and it was here that Jero sat, his presence calm yet powerful, like the rooted tree behind him. Jero, with his silver mane flowing down to his shoulders, seemed to belong to the earth itself. His weathered face caught the golden light, highlighting the deep lines of wisdom etched into his skin. He rested his hands on his carved walking stick, the symbols of growth and wisdom on it faintly glowing in the evening sun. His gray eyes, soft yet penetrating, watched as Sarah slowly made her way through the yard, her steps light but hesitant. The familiar sound of crunching gravel underfoot seemed to echo the weight of the journey that had brought her here. Jero tilted his head slightly as she approached, his gaze never leaving her. His posture was relaxed yet composed, as if the wisdom he carried within him was a quiet, unshakable force. Sarah moved closer, her heart racing with anticipation and uncertainty. The stone path that led from the cabin seemed longer today, each step bringing her closer to the moment she had long feared yet deeply craved. As she reached the bench, Jero's face softened into a warm smile, a silent invitation for her to sit. She hesitated for a moment, taking in the oak tree's towering presence, its roots weaving through the earth like the untold stories Jero had shared with so many before her. Finally, Sarah sat beside him, feeling the cool touch of the wooden bench beneath her, the air around them charged with the promise of transformation.
"I see you've come with questions,"
Jero said, his voice a low, steady murmur that seemed to blend with the sounds of nature.
"But answers are not always what we expect."
Sarah looked up, her eyes meeting his. There was something about the way he spoke, the way his presence seemed to envelop the yard, that made her feel safe, even in the face of the unknown. The yard was more than just a piece of land. It was a space for reflection, growth, and the beginning of a journey that would change her life forever. Sarah took a deep breath, the cool evening air filling her lungs. She knew that whatever lay ahead, she was ready to face it, and in this yard, under Jero's wise guidance, she would find the strength she had been searching for. Jero wasted no time. As soon as Sarah sat, he spoke with the precision of someone who had long mastered the art of uncovering truths.
"You fear success,"
he stated.
"Not failure, but what might come after, what the weight of victory may demand from you."
Sarah blinked, surprised by how easily he saw into her soul.
"Yes,
She admitted, her voice barely a whisper.
I'm afraid of stepping into my potential, afraid that once I do, I won't be enough to handle it all."
Jero nodded slowly, his gaze unwavering.
"You're not alone in this, child. The fear of success is the chain that holds many back from their greatest selves. But let me tell you something. This fear, this hesitation, it is the threshold before transformation. It's the doorway to power, but only if you have the courage to walk through."
Sarah leaned in, intrigued.
Oh, how do I walk through when the fear feels like a wall I can't break?
With a quiet chuckle, Jero stood and beckoned her closer to the fire.
"You must first understand the nature of fear."
He began.
"Fear is not your enemy. It's a compass pointing you toward growth. Fear isn't telling you to turn back. It's telling you that you are on the edge of something important, something transformative."
He picked up a small piece of firewood and tossed it into the flames. The fire roared for a moment before settling back into its steady crackle.
"The warrior spirit,"
He continued,
"is not about banishing fear. It's about facing it head-on and using it to sharpen your blade. Fear exists to challenge you, to make you stronger, not to hold you captive."
Sarah's heart raced as his words hit home. She had always seen fear as something to overcome, something to defeat. But Jero was telling her to embrace it.
To cultivate a warrior spirit,
Jero said, his eyes now gleaming with intensity.
You must first learn to harness the power of fear. Fear is energy, it's raw potential. When you feel fear, don't run from it. Instead, use it. Channel that energy into your actions, into your decisions. The greater the fear, the greater the transformation.
He paused, letting the words sink in. Sarah could feel her heartbeat quicken. It was true. Every time she had faced fear and pushed through it, something inside her had shifted. But too often, she had let fear stop her from even trying.
How do I do that?
She asked, her voice steady but laced with uncertainty.
How do I stop fear from freezing me?
Jero smiled.
You begin by acknowledging it. Name it. Own it. Look your fear in the eye and say, I see you, but you do not control me. Fear wants to protect you, but it also wants to keep you small. To build the life you want, you must tell fear that you're in charge now.
The flames danced in the hearth, casting shadows across the room. But Sarah felt the weight lifting. She could face fear. She could use it as fuel rather than let it smother her dreams.
The second lesson,
Jero said, pacing slowly in front of the fire,
is perseverance. The warrior spirit is not forged in a single battle, but in the relentless pursuit of victory. Courage doesn't come from one great act. It comes from rising again and again, no matter how many times you fall.
Sarah's mind raced with memories of the time she had given up too soon, convinced that she wasn't strong enough to keep going. But as Jero spoke, she realized something. Those who succeed are not the ones who never fall, but the ones who keep getting up.
You've already fallen many times, haven't you?
Jero asked, reading her thoughts.
Yes.
Sarah admitted, feeling the weight of her past decisions.
But I always thought falling meant I wasn't meant to succeed.
Falling is part of the path.
Jero said firmly.
Every warrior falls, Sarah. What defines them is that they rise. Each time you get back up, you're stronger. Each time you push through the pain, through the doubt, you're building your spirit. Perseverance is the fire that tempers your soul.
The fire crackled louder, as if in agreement. Sarah could feel her heart swell with determination. She had been seeing things wrong all this time. Success wasn't about being perfect. It was about pushing through imperfection, about standing tall after every fall.
The third and final lesson,
Jero said, his voice now softer,
is the hardest of all. Trusting yourself. The warrior spirit doesn't rely on the world's validation. It draws its power from within. To truly cultivate a warrior's strength, you must believe, deeply and unwaveringly, that you are enough.
Sarah's throat tightened. Trusting herself had always been her greatest struggle. Every victory she imagined came with a shadow of doubt. What if she wasn't truly capable? What if deep down she was too weak?
I don't know if I can.
She whispered, the vulnerability raw in her voice. Jero leaned closer, his eyes locking with hers.
You already are. The mere fact that you've come this far means you have what it takes. The doubts, the fears, they are merely tests. The warrior spirit doesn't shy away from doubt. It moves through it. It thrives on the belief that no matter what happens, you will rise. You will conquer.
Sarah felt the words sink deep into her bones. Trusting herself was no longer an option. It was a necessity. She had always looked for strength outside of herself, but Jero was right. The power she sought had always been within her, waiting to be claimed. As Sarah left Jero's cabin that night, the air was cool, and the stars glittered above her. The weight of fear still lingered, but it no longer felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like a challenge, one she was ready to face. Jero's lessons echoed in her mind, guiding her steps. Fear, she realized, was not something to avoid but to embrace. Perseverance was not about perfection, but about resilience. And most importantly, she now knew that her greatest strength came from within. She was the warrior she had been waiting for. With a newfound fire in her heart, Sarah set her sights on the horizon. No longer afraid of success, she felt ready to face whatever challenges life threw her way. She was ready to rise. If Sarah's journey inspired you, subscribe to my channel for more stories that empower, uplift, and challenge you to face life with courage. Join me as we uncover the warrior spirit within each of us and learn to rise above fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Together, we'll conquer life's battles and grow stronger every step of the way. Subscribe now and begin your journey to mastering your warrior spirit.